Well, hello and welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. I'm Chris of the Northwest, and we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're shopping for a turkey large enough to feed a small village, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. It's that time of year, and tonight we're talking with a very special guest. That's eaccipi, hope I got that right, we'll find out later, about geocaching in South-Central Alaska. Live audience, you know what to do. Jump in that chat, fill out the comments, ask us questions, get involved. We love seeing you there. But first, of course, it's time to bring in our Tundra Tamarin. Some say he calls decaf coffee Despresso. And others say he's shielded from reality by his intense disinterest. All we know is he's called Land Monkey. Meh. I don't know how complimentary those were this week.
Meh. Whatever. It's Thursday night. It's good to be here. And we are truly caching in the Northwest, more so than we normally do on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Emily is joining us from about as northwest as you can get on the continent. So
pretty close.
Nice to meet you tonight, Emily. All right. And we are going to, before we get into everything else, and I'm really excited to talk about caching in Alaska. That's going to be really cool. But before we get into that, a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of all of you awesome patrons. We also appreciate the support of the thumbs up to the episode. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, that means a lot to us and really helps a lot. And at the end of the podcast, Chris is going to tell you about submitting a review, and that goes a long way. So we really appreciate that. So look at all the things you can do to support us. And a lot of them are really easy to do. You just got to do it. All right. Well, all of that stuff helps to keep this podcast coming each and every week, but most so, a special thanks to our corporate Denali level sponsors. Hey, look at that. Another Alaska reference. And a special thanks to Landsharks. Now, Landsharks wants to tell all of you good people that their Black Friday sale is starting early, and they have the promo geocaching holiday tag. You'll get one for every $25 spent before tax. So, as happens, I think pretty much every year, the Black Friday sales, there will be a special, unique design for a holiday tag. And by spending $25 before tax US with Landsharks, you can get that. So check that out at landsharks.ca. And in case you hadn't seen it announced today, there's another promo code for some products from Landsharks, and that is Monkey 15. And so if you watch my video, I've got a promotion going on with Landsharks right now as well, that you can get 15% off some products by using the code Monkey 15. Now, you can't use both the Black Friday code and the 15 at the same time and like double up on promo codes, because that'd just be crazy. But anyways, check it all out, and check it out at Landsharks, landsharkz.ca. Hey, also, our other corporate Denali level sponsor, well, that's Gold Country Geotourism. And they wanted to let us know, thanks for the reminder, Jim, I'm going to put my little Gold Country logo up. They wanted to let us know that there are plenty of communities to explore in Gold Country during the winter market season. They've got a lot of cool things going on up there, little Christmas markets and holiday sales and all kinds of cool stuff going on to explore Gold Country in the wintertime. So make your plans and have a visit online at their event calendar to see exactly what's going on. And where is that online event calendar? Well, let me tell you, it's at exploregoldcountry.com, or download and install the app for Explore Gold Country and learn more about, I'm Italian now, the Geo Tour and the region. All right. Well, that was a whole lot of stuff. And folks, if you want to know more about supporting this podcast, remember to click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com a website.
That's right. It's over there somewhere. You can find it if you go looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, if you want to join into tonight's chat, and I know you do, because you do every week, make sure you use the hashtag Alaska to put in front of your comments, to precede your comments. There we go. English language is sometimes difficult.
Try Italian. It works for me.
Oh, does it? Oh, we
Yeah.
try to do Italian. We do the FTAS. That
was
can
great.
Use the hashtag FTAS.
Do that all podcast, Chris.
Yeah.
No, I will not, because, it's terrible. Use the hashtag FTAS to pop up something for the after show. If you have something, maybe it's not Alaska related. Maybe it's an event you're going to this weekend and trying to get out of escape rooms that are somehow coming to the location of the event. I'm just saying.
That was oddly specific.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And there's one more. Now, Emily,
wait,
are you
there's more.
aware that people like to bake during this podcast? I don't know why. I think it's the time of night and our soothing voices. So if you're cooking anything, we want to know. Use the hashtag podcast baking, and maybe it's Baked Alaska tonight in honor of our guest. That's all I got.
All right.
It's a lot.
And if you have another nationality or if you have another nationality or dialect that you could like us to mangle and insult, well, we're an equal opportunity host. We'll mangle them all. Oh, special request from Kamakino.
It's me, Mario.
No, come on. You know how to do it.
It's a me, Mario.
There you go.
Pretty good. I'm not sure if that's really Italian or just Nintendo. And
I think it's Nintendo-ese.
yeah, there you go. Hey, before we get to Alaska, and I'm excited to get to Alaska tonight, we want to remind you about the Year of the Hide. No, not tanning the leather hide out back.
Oh.
This is your last chance to earn your 2022 Hider souvenir. It's coming up fast because, well, the end of the year is coming up fast. As your newest cache out there, did you hide a cache? Is your newest cache inspired, awe, and joy, and every geocacher fearless enough to find it? Have you helped the community refresh and revitalize the game board by hiding a cache of any kind this year? If not, well, you have until December 17th to submit a new geocache, or you can host an event, get it there in the system by December 17th to get it reviewed and earn yourself the 2022 Hider souvenir. Act now. Operators are standing by.
Your call is important to us.
Yes.
You remember it seemed like it was just the start of the year, and it's like, oh, it's the year of the hide. You've got all year to go out and place a hide. And now you've got exactly
now
1
you're
month.
scrod if you haven't done it.
Oh, so much fun. Hey, I got an email this week from Merlin1392. Now, you remember him as the head of MIGO, right? The Michigan Geocaching Association. Well, each year he gets involved in a special mission to help geocachers connect in a unique way. It's the Joyeux Noël mission. Sounds very French. You can join in and have some fun together. You only need to send one non-activated trackable geocoin, no micros or travel bugs or travel tags, and a nice Christmas card. Now, I'm sure a lot of you will be happy with that very simple mission. So anyone who's interested, please email me, and I'm going to put that name up right now. And we're all going to share it and see. There we go. You need to email your geocaching name, your real name, your address, and your email address. And he's going to choose randomly who sends a coin to whom. And the person you send the coin to is not the person you will receive the coin from, unless he makes a mistake. And you may have to send overseas, but it's only a card and coin, so it's not that expensive. And it's Christmas time after all. So please send your message there to Claude Latour at videotron.ca. That's for the folks that listening in the car who can't actually read what's on screen.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Just remember.
Write that down on your steering wheel while you're driving.
Exactly. That's why you carry a silver Sharpie to write on your black steering wheel as you're driving down I-5 traffic. I could have done that today. Traffic was nearly at a standstill. I had time to write things down, and that's just wrong.
Funny.
You can participate more than once, and you don't have to just send the card and geocoin. You can add tags, trinkets, stickers, chocolate. It's up to you. But remember, the bigger the package gets, the more expensive it is to send it, and especially if you're sending it overseas. So reach out to Claude. You have until November 25th. So that's just a week away. We'll have Merlin 1392 come on next year before this event and tell us more about it. But this has gone on for many years. It's a lot of fun. You get a Christmas card and a coin from another geocacher you may have never met, or maybe you have.
That's cool. What a neat idea.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, I like that. Very cool. I don't think I've ever heard about that before. Maybe I have, but I don't remember.
Did you hear this other podcast I used to be on, Geo Gearheads?
No.
We always talked about it there.
There's another podcast besides this one?
Not that I know of.
One other podcast. Yes, that's it.
All right. Stuff you should know, right? That's the other podcast beside this one. Is that you used to be on Stuff You Should Know?
Well,
sorry, Emily, what was that?
I would say I thought it was a true crime podcast.
If Chris was on it, it probably is.
It's only murders in the building.
Is that stuff you should know?
Only murders.
That's stuff you shouldn't know.
Jim, it's only murderers in the building.
Oh, yeah.
How else do you avoid being murdered if you don't hear how other people are doing it?
There you go.
This sounds like
that's
excellent
why.
advice.
Okay. So you're not coming up with new ideas.
Well, I've got a new idea. Let's flush this train here off the bridge and just jump over to Alaska and welcome Emily. We're told that you've listened to the podcast before, but welcome. Now you get to see behind the scenes, and we're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. Yeah, I was telling Chris earlier, I always listen to your podcast in the car during my commute, and this is my first time getting to watch it live and see the magic behind the voices.
Well, for the listeners out there that are sitting on the freeway for their commute listening right now, and for the live audience, could you give us a little background and tell us about yourself, your caching name, maybe what your favorite type of geocache is?
Absolutely. So my name's Emily Estipiter. My cache handle is eaccipi. I'm incredibly creative. So it is my college username, which is first initial, first six in my last, because I started geocaching technically right after college. And my favorite type of cache, it used to be traditionals, used to be very into it, but I am very much an event junkie now. I like the camaraderie of meeting other people and finding other caches and hearing what caches I need to go for and getting intel for some of those D5s.
Oh, interesting. Nice. Now, we've kind of spilled the beans on where you may be living at the moment, but maybe you want to give a little more detail. And how long has Alaska been your home?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from North Carolina. I went to school in South Carolina at Clemson University. So go Tigers for anyone who is listening. I've lived in Alaska. I first moved up in 2013, left in 15, missed it a lot. So we came back in 18. So collectively, I think I'm at 8 years in Alaska. I don't know if I am allowed to technically qualify myself as an Alaskan, but I do. So sorry to anyone I offend with that tonight. So I've lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Alaska twice. And now I am in a town just outside of Anchorage called Eagle River. It's about a 30-minute drive north.
Emily, isn't there something about surviving your second winter in Alaska, and after that you're allowed to call yourself an Alaskan? I thought there was some sort of rule like that.
If there is, I wanna say it is. I know some people still consider me a chichako, which is the Alaskan phrase for newcomer, and you don't get to be a sourdough until you've earned it somehow. And I'm trying to figure out how to earn it. But every winter it starts off a little bit harder, and I wonder if I'm going to make it. And then the solstice hits in the winter, and I'm like, we did it. There's daylight again.
Yeah.
I can do this.
I would say being the official ambassador for Alaska on a geocaching podcast makes you an official Alaskan. So you got my vote.
Yes.
Works for
You
me.
have my non-Alaskan vote as well.
Oh, yeah.
For an
vote
official
for
Alaska.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, very cool. Lots of fun things there. So we're going to talk about geocaching in Alaska, and particularly South-Central Alaska. And I think maybe there's kind of a nuance there that'll be important to dig into, and I think you'll probably do that a little bit later. But what makes caching in South-Central Alaska so special? Let's start there.
So I really like to highlight Alaska's a really, really big state. I think if you've looked at a map and seen the overlay, it's enormous and it's broken up into big regions. So you've got Southeast, you've got South Central, you've got the interior, which has Fairbanks, you've got the Western coast. And since I'm in South Central Alaska, and that's where I've done most of my caching, I feel confidently speaking about it. I don't want to step on the toes of people in Southeast since I have not cached in all those places. I think people that go on cruises have cached in Southeast more than I have. So that's kind of my nuance. In the Anchorage area, it's a phenomenal place to come and cache. We have one of the highest density of caches in our city. It's one of the only places I've been where pretty much every half mile within it, there's at least 1 to 5 caches in a square radius. Whenever I travel out of state, I get really spoiled. I was in upstate New York last summer, and I was like, what? The closest cache is 4 miles? 4 miles? I can't just walk half a block and there be a cache here. So we have an incredibly high density of caches, and we've got a really passionate hider community. So there's a cache type for everyone, whether you're looking for really hard puzzles, really good challenges, lamppost skirts, ammo cans, micros in the woods. We have just a phenomenal variety.
And those are available year round?
Some are. We are very big on using the attributes, or at least really good hiders are. I am at the time of year where my filter on my geocaching app is winter friendly only. And if it doesn't have that winter friendly attribute, I do not even attempt it.
Yeah.
That sounds
Nice.
like really good advice.
Go ahead, Chris. Let me give a little travel information.
Yeah.
Because we happen to know that if you're looking to take the ferry from Bellingham to Ketchikan, it's $342 for a foot passenger.
Now, Emily, if folks aren't familiar with Alaskan geography, relative to the area you're talking about, where is Ketchikan?
Ketchikan's really far away. Ketchikan is about as far south as you can get and still be in the state of Alaska. At my job, we joke that Ketchikan is technically just North Seattle. Because it's just so much closer. And so I've personally never been to Ketchikan. I have a coworker that's there that loves it. His photos are amazing. I'm trying to finagle a trip to Ketchikan, but I haven't made it there yet. But it is, it's pretty far south. I would.
There you go. Closest Alaskan ferry port to Prince Rupert, BC.
Which also won't help anybody who doesn't live in British Columbia. It's like Prince Rupert. Okay, another BC town with Prince in the name. I have no idea.
Prince Rupert in town. You should let him know.
I was going to say, I would be willing to bet there are some British Columbia residents that don't know where Prince Rupert is.
Or at least haven't been.
Yeah.
Hey, so while we're talking about traveling and ferries and such, if someone was thinking of heading up to explore South Central Alaska, what would be the top piece of advice, Emily, that you would provide to help people prepare for such an adventure?
Definitely book early. I know in the summer our rental cars can get a little bit pricey, but I know that Turo's a thing. The number one thing that I tell everybody that comes is it's wild. Even though Anchorage is a big city, we've got 300,000 people, which is 10 times larger than any other city in the state. There's still bears. I was telling Chris before the show, I actually had a moose that came on our front porch and ate my son's Halloween pumpkin this week, and he was devastated by it. And it's not uncommon to see bears in the city and in the streets and in the parks. And so I do not go anywhere without bear spray. Pretty much from April through November. No need to freak out if you see them, though. Like, there's no need to be scared. You just talk loudly, you make yourself big, you don't approach them, and you never run away. So I'm more honestly afraid of the moose than I am the bear, because moose are very stubborn and they will charge you. The bears, for the most part, just want to be left alone.
Yeah, I've heard moose are not something to mess with at all.
Yeah, if there's a moose in our driveway blocking my car, I know I'm going to be late for work that day.
But the thing is, all you have to do is say, "Yeah, there's a moose," and everybody else at work's like, "Oh, all right,
Okay, yeah.
Moose. Yeah.
we got it."
So next year, you just have to spray your son's pumpkin with moose repellent, and it'll be fine.
I kind of like that it gets eaten, because it's one less thing that I have to throw away.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we took ours to a local property here where they had some cows, and he said, "Bring your pumpkins down here and give them to the cows." So mine were consumed as well. So, gosh, there's so much to talk about Alaska, but I think one thing that comes to mind with a lot of people when you think of Alaska is the weather. I hear it can be a little extreme up there. Is that something we got to be concerned about, or just pull on the flip-flops and come see you?
I think it depends on what time of year you're coming to Alaska.
Sure.
I am asked constantly, is it cold year round? And it kind of depends on what your version of cold is. I'm sure to someone from Florida, it's a little chilly. But in the summer, I mean, we've had summers where it's reached in the 80s. A few years ago, we had 90 degree, and that was miserable for everyone up here. We went out and bought an air conditioner that summer. And the farther north you get, the warmer it actually can be. So Fairbanks will have summers where it's in the 90s consistently. In the Anchorage area in South Central, we tend to stay summers maxing out mid 70s, and in the winters, usually between 0 and 25. So it's really not that bad. It's really dry here. So I joke with friends back on the East Coast that the jackets I would wear in 50-degree temps in North Carolina, I wear for 5-degree temps here, because the humidity, there's not that wetness that seeps in and gets in your body. It's more about having something to cover the skin. And if you keep moving and you keep warm, I think it's good. I like hats and rain jackets. Those are always in my car, even if I'm not wearing them, just in case, because it can get pretty wet.
I bet. Now, you mentioned traveling around Alaska. In fact, we have we have quite the research department here. This one comes from Monkey Cakes. It said Seattle is closer to Ketchikan than Anchorage is to Ketchikan. So, just in case you wanted to know how far things are away in the state of Alaska.
Oh, yeah, it's big. I know sometimes people will look at a map and be like, "Oh, do you go to Fairbanks all the time? It's so close." And I'm like, it's an 8-hour drive in the winter.
It's an inch on my map.
It looks so close. But it's only a 1-hour flight. So if you're coming up and you've got the extra time, it's a 1-hour flight, and it's pretty cheap to go up to Fairbanks from Anchorage. And from Anchorage to Juneau is a 1.5-hour flight, and out to like Bethel or some of the western communities. You can get a lot of places in the state in under just a few hours. It's just a matter of, are you willing to fly there, or are you trying to drive to a ferry station?
Well, okay, so the internet myth that I know about Alaska, that I question now about Alaska, are there any highways connecting cities? What you hear is that, it's once it snows, you're trapped in that city unless you want to take a ferry or an airplane out. Is that true?
So it's true for parts of Alaska. So Southeast is connected by the ferry system. The ferry is their highway. There are roads within the communities, but you can't drive from Juneau to Haines. You've got to take a ferry. Western Alaska, you've pretty much got to take an airplane. So if you want to go from Bethel to any of the communities, you're flying, or the brave will wait for the river to freeze up and drive on the river to other communities. In South Central, we're pretty modern. So we have a highway that goes all the way from Homer, Alaska, the tip of the Kenai Peninsula, and you can technically take that highway all the way up to Prudhoe Bay. And so you can drive to Denali, drive through Anchorage, drive to Fairbanks, and there's almost like a triangle of highways. So you can head over to Glen Allen or head over to Tok and have really good salad.
Wow, that is an
there.
incredible highway.
Yeah, it's an incredibly long highway, and there's talks about them putting in a hiking trail, building connecting trails so that you can hike from Valdez, Alaska, all the way up to the top. And they're looking for funding on that. So I look forward to eventually a geocaching power trail on that.
Nice.
That would be quite the hike to undertake, and you'd want to do it at the right time of year.
Yeah, you want to do it the right time of the year, but I think the distance would be probably pretty similar to what people on the Appalachian Trail do, what people who do the PCT. I think they were saying they wanted that trail to be about 800 miles. And Alaska, because it's so big, the terrain does vary and the scenery varies. All the way up to kind of Cordova, you've got the Tongass rainforest, and then you go into beautiful spruce and fir trees, and then you go further north and it becomes really flat and the mountains go away. And obviously we've got Denali, we've got Mount Elias, we've got some pretty big mountains up here.
Yeah, you do. I was surprised to hear rainforest. I don't picture a rainforest in Alaska.
Southeast Alaska has a huge rainforest, the Tongass National Forest. It's one of the biggest rainforests, I think, in North America. And it extends all the way up, technically, I think, into maybe not all the way into Cordova, but it's so rainy there. In my mind, it is. I'll need someone to fact check me on that one.
Well, and it stretches right up through from British Columbia, right? Like the whole section is it's all rainforest. So like we've got the Great Rainforest area and everything. It just
Now, Emily, you're very active in the geocaching community there in Alaska. What roles do you play?
So I'm actually on the board for Geocache Alaska. It is our advocacy club, similar to what you guys have in Washington and MIGO and the GGA in Georgia. So Alaska, we have ours. It's a little over 10 years old. I've been on the board for 4 years. I found out yesterday I am the newly elected vice president.
Congratulations.
Good.
I ran against no one, but I was still very nervous. But in my time on the board, they do a really great job of allowing me to follow some of the big dreams I have for our organization and for the caching community. I'm the events chair as well, so I get to plan. We do monthly edu events after our board meetings. The one that's happening tonight that I'm not there for is Night Caching 101. Alaska is a great place to do night caching because you can start it at 4:00 in the afternoon.
We're not far behind you down here, it seems, right now.
Yeah. I was able to coordinate with our Parks and Rec department. So we have a park that we've adopted. So we have monthly CETOs that I got to help organize. And one of my passion projects, one of my dreams was I really wanted a geo trail in Alaska. And our president, Northwest, he helped me find the people to connect to. We made a proposal, we made a pitch, and coming next spring, we will officially have our own geo trail. Not GeoTour, because those cost a lot of money. We're hoping it will become one, but we will be launching a Geo Trail in the Kenai Mountain Turnagain Arm National Heritage Area.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's talk some more about the Geo Trail. We're curious to learn a little bit more about the sponsor who's supporting it, and then maybe we'll get into more details later about where it is and what's involved in finding it. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about the sponsor, because let's give them a shout out. They're helping you out.
Absolutely. So we are partnering with the Kenai Mountain Turnagain Arm National Heritage Area, which is
a mouthful.
Here on referred to as KMTA. So they have this really amazing field guide on their website that they actually share with schools that details 24 historic sites within it in a lot of the communities in the KMTA area. And so we are partnering with them to essentially build a geo trail highlighting that. So bringing people to those locations, providing the educational aspect, the beautiful views, and allowing people to explore a lot of the communities there. They're smaller towns that are very tourist friendly and are just really fun to go and see. It So the mission of it is to recognize, preserve, and interpret the historic and the scenic and the natural resources and the cultural landscape of the Kenai Mountain Turning an Arm Historic Transportation Corridor. It's actually the only national heritage area in Alaska.
Wow.
Yep. And so a national heritage area, it's a place where historic and cultural and natural resources, they combine together and kind of form a cohesive and a nationally important landscape. It's like a really great snapshot of what life was like in those areas. And unlike a national park, for example, national heritage areas are more lived in landscapes. So it allows them to collaborate with the communities and really determine how to make the heritage of those areas relevant to the local interests and the needs.
Emily, just before we get into more about the GeoTrail, you mentioned the historic transportation corridor. Is there any kind of like rail passages involved in that?
So the railroad does go. The original railroad was from Seward, Alaska, up through Anchorage, and you can actually take the train from Seward to Whittier, to Anchorage, to Denali National Park, to Fairbanks, through the Alaska Railroad. It's an incredibly beautiful ride, and you can catch the railroad pretty much at any of their stops. And one thing that's really fun about the railroad, it's not in south, it's north, but you can actually whistle stop. So there are areas, communities where you can kind of just go and flag down the train, and you're able to get on. You still have to pay. They still accept money and require it, but it's one of the few areas where I've ever even thought about trying to flag a train to catch a ride.
Very cool.
That is cool. That is good. Now, this GeoTrail sounds very interesting. How do you get to it? What would be a great launching point when we want to come up next summer?
Yes.
And start this Geo Tour?
So my recommendation would be to fly into Anchorage. You can rent a car, or you can rent a small RV or a camper van, and it goes along the Seward Highway all the way to Seward. If you're coming, I definitely say plan at least a weekend. Ideally, I'd say 3 to 4 days to really have an opportunity to explore the communities and do more than just go from cache to cache to cache. Mm-hmm. The placement of these caches and the placement of this tour really is in areas that are just a tipping off point. If you do that, though, please make sure that you download your offline maps, download your Google Maps, download your bookmark list, because while we are a very, very big state with a very little population, it means we do not have the best cell service. And so there are plenty of spots, not just along this GeoTrail, but in the state where if you don't have your maps downloaded, you may not be able to pull the cache up. It happened to me earlier this summer. I went all the way out to Brooks Camp to go bear viewing, and there are 2 virtual caches out there. And I did not download my bookmark list. So I had to basically remember what the virtual requirements were and take my picture with every single signpost out there in hope that one of them was the correct signpost for redeeming the virtual.
There you go. Or cache by GPS is the other option.
Cache by GPS is, we've got a lot of people up here who are very much GPS cachers. I have one. I'm not the best at using it. I have not figured out how to make maps show up on it. But it's really great for like pointing and getting me in the right direction. Yeah. So if you're able to download offline maps to a GPS, that might be the best way to avoid draining your phone battery and have a good view on topography. The big thing is Alaska oftentimes is not included in the GPS map packages. So if you're a lower 48 cacher and you're coming up to Alaska with your GPS, make sure that you either buy that separate package or that it's installed before trying to come up here. You'll be like me with no topography, just an arrow.
Great tip.
Just take a picture with every sign there.
Were you able to claim the virtual cache?
That was my next question.
I was. Okay. So I pictured myself with every single sign, and except one, and that was the one that I needed. And so I wrote a note on the cache page, and it's just like, hey, I'm not claiming this find. I just want to share. I was here. It was great. Here are some photos from the trip. And I ended up running into the cache on our mountain bike this past August in Seattle. And he was like, oh, I read your log. Please, like, go ahead and claim it. And so I claimed it, but we'll probably go back again next year because the bear viewing was just phenomenal. And I'm going to make sure I take the picture with the correct sign just
There you
to justify, get that smiley face.
Check that box.
Yes.
Mountain Bike is such a nice guy.
Yeah,
He really is.
it really is. Yeah. All right, so we know how to get there now. We know a little bit about this thing, but what can you tell us about the different caches that make up the Geo Trail? What about these cache locations?
So I am personally a big fan of ammo cans. I like regular, I like large. I want to be able to find something that's got room inside. And that was one thing we really wanted with this Geo Trail. So all but one of the cache sites are ammo cans, and some of them are in pretty urban places. So you'll be surprised how we are able to get ammo cans in them. They start in Girdwood. You get to go to Alaska. You get to go to an old gold mine. As you continue down the highway, you get to see geography. You visit the Community of Hope and see how they lived life there in 1915. You can go down to Cooper Landing and see some of the more native artifacts because there was a lot of people here before we all came up. And so the Knitsi tribe down there, they've got stuff, and the Quebec Cultural Center. And there's also a really good brewery there. We love beer up here. So there's a lot of breweries for you to stop at. And then it heads further south all the way through Moose Pass and into Seward. And it's just a really great place. The landscape's phenomenal. You go over a pass, which is why we advise doing it in the summer, because winter can be, the caches will all be under a layer of snow if they aren't already. And one cache on the trail is an earth cache, because with the scenery and with the geography of the area, we couldn't help but make sure we got that educational aspect in on it.
Did you see Land Monkey's ears just perk right up there?
Are you a cache fan?
I have been known to be fond of the earth caches. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Yes.
Alaska has a lot of earth caches, and there's even a challenge up here where I think if you find 20 of the 80 that were published at the time, you can sign the challenge. And one of our board members, Northwest, he's a big fan of earth caches, and he hides them all over the place. And I've learned more about Alaska's geography than I ever imagined through that. And then one big thing I really did want to talk about with our Geo Trail is parking, because that's always one of my pet peeves whenever I go and look for caches, especially if it's in an unfamiliar area, is knowing where to pull off. Where can I park my car, especially if I'm in my camper van? And so we really put a lot of effort to make sure that we have parking coordinates on every single cache listing, and that all the parking areas are safe. They're not just on the highway pull-offs, but big enough to where you can put like a 20-foot camper van or RV with no issue whatsoever. And so that was really nice. That was one thing that I was really, really passionate about. I have been doing a lot of geo trails lately, and that's always my number one frustration, is not knowing where to park, or parking somewhere and realizing there was a better place, or somehow getting my car trapped by horse trailers.
Yeah, getting boxed in, yeah.
Or a moose.
You never do it again.
That's a really good point, Emily, and I think that's awesome that is done for each of the caches in the series. I've done some either geo tours or geo trails, geocoin challenges, whatever, however they're branded, depending on what they are and what licensing they've paid. But yeah, not often do people remember consistently to give the parking codes. And I think that's a big one for sure.
Yeah.
Well, especially we know Alaska's a bucket list for so many people. And I mean, I live here and it's still a bucket list. Like my drive to work, I see the mountains every single day, and I'm always like, man, what a cool place to be. And so recognizing that it's that most of the people that will be doing this trail will probably be from out of state, because we only have so many people that live in the state. Only so many people that live here can do it. We really want to make sure that their experience is as easy as possible and just really fun. It's a fun place to be. You're already like looking for wildlife. You're keeping an eye on other cars on the road. The last thing you need to be doing is trying to figure out, where can I pull off?
Yeah, good point.
So true. So true. Okay, let's say we're up there in the summer. We've maximized the daylight hours and we got the geo tour done.
You're ready.
Yes. What else is there to do?
Well, so after you've done the geo trail, we've got a lot of fun stuff. So, first thing off the top of my head is we've got challenges. We don't have a ton of challenges, not like what you guys have in Washington, but we've got a fair amount. And I encourage anyone that comes up, you guys should try it for we've got our own county challenge, our borough challenge. And so far, 2 cache handles have actually been able to complete it. That GC code, for anybody that is curious, is GC Yankee Papa Mike November. And it's really, really hard to do that challenge. It's expensive. You have to fly or take a boat to a lot of places. I only have 13 of the 30 boroughs done. But RWVJ, who's a couple somewhere from the southeast, they were the first ones to do it. And DMZL Stone, he's an Alaskan cacher. He spent several years working to complete the goal. And there's another cacher up here, Glenfish, who is at 29 of the 30. So I'm guessing in the next few months, we'll be celebrating him doing it. And then we don't have a DeLorme for the whole state, but there is one for South-Central. It's 15 required pages, and it's another one where 20 required pages. 15 of them are on the road system, and 5 of the pages are not. So you'll either be hiking or chartering a plane or taking a ferry to get some of those. If you, we go very extreme up here.
That's awesome. I love it.
No. We're going to make it a lot more fun and a lot more challenging. Do you guys like puzzles?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then after you finish the Geo Trail, you guys will have to pop over to Kenai and Soldotna. The Kenai Peninsula is the unofficial puzzle capital of Alaska. And so they've got a ton there, ranging in difficulties that even I'm able to solve, really, really tough ones that I ask for hints at the events that I go to. And we also have Cache Across America that is just a little bit north of Anchorage in Wasilla for anyone that's doing that challenge.
I popped the names of those areas into the chat for folks because Kenai and Soldotna are not necessarily going to be intuitive as to how those are spelled. If people are curious now and want to figure out where is she talking about, so I just want to let folks know that's there in the chat.
Yeah, I struggled with a lot of the names up here, and then now that I've been up here and hear them enough, it comes second nature. Being able to pronounce Utqiagvik properly was very much a badge of honor for me.
Wow. I just popped up a map of
there you go.
your boroughs, and I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And some of them are really hard. So the one that says Wade Hampton, that is no longer Wade Hampton. That is, they renamed it to its original native name. And it is, I'm Googling it. It starts with a K. What is it?
So that's on the West Coast there, the central West Coast.
Yep. Kuslavac is now Wade Hampton. And then the Valdez Cordova census area, they actually split into 2 boroughs. And so it's a Church and a Copper River borough now.
Okay.
And then
so this map isn't even right.
Yeah. So the split of the Valdez Cordova census area, that just happened, I want to say early last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I had found caches in both. So I immediately went from 12 to 13.
Well done.
So it was a nice little cheat. And then I saw Keats 94 just said very Russian. Yeah, the Kenai Peninsula down there was, it was pretty much settled by Russian, and there's still a lot of beautiful Russian architecture and several of the Russian Orthodox churches, and Homer, Alaska has a really sizable Russian Orthodox community.
You know, that's funny that you mentioned the architecture piece, because I think, historically I was aware about the whole Russian history of certain parts of Alaska for sure, but it hadn't occurred to me that of course there would also be some historical Russian architecture there, because they built things when they lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some really beautiful examples of the church and examples of their graveyard. I know Sitka is supposed to have a lot of Russian architecture because I believe it was the first capital of Alaska when Russia had it, and a lot of the areas were kind of settled by the fur traders and the seal traders and areas like that. So along the coastal, yeah, it was Russia way back when. They regret giving it up though.
That's right.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, and some of that architecture is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
then
think the song "North to Alaska," north to Russia's own.
Mm-hmm.
we're very happy to be Americans, though. I very much like my U.S. passport.
All right, so when you
Canadian passport, so yeah, I get it.
when you talked about the Geo Trail, that immediately brought to mind a power trail that are popular in a lot of places. Do you have many of those up there?
We have a handful of power trails, but they've got a unique Alaskan twist to them. They are not the kind where you drive your car and hop out every 10th of a mile. They are on hikes or on four-wheelers. So one that I'm currently working on is at Eklutna Lake, which is just north of the Anchorage area, and it's a 12-mile power trail on an area that's only accessible by four-wheeler from Thursday to Saturday. Other than that, you got to walk it or you got to bike it. And there's 120 caches in that one. And then a little bit further north of Anchorage in an area called Hatcher's Pass, there is kind of a four-wheeler power trail that's letterboxes, actually, called the Archangel series. And I can't remember off the top of my head how many are in there, but it's one of the largest letterbox concentrations in Alaska. And it's only accessible in the summer. In the winter, it's all under snow.
Oh, so you can only get it in the summer. You can't get to it by snow machine in the winter?
Well, just where the caches are, they're going to be under the snow, and some of the roads actually close. So the road through the pass that goes from one side to the other, they actually shut it down in the winter, and it becomes open just to snow machiners.
Emily, you mentioned a couple times that some of these places are only accessible by four-wheeler. Now, do you mean like quads, or do you mean actually like 4x4s can make it? Like a Jeep 4x4 or something should be fine.
I am talking about quads or ATVs. Okay. I call them four-wheelers. There are areas up here where there are caches hidden. Jim's Creek is an area that's really popular, and people will take quads out there, or they will take these vehicles that are jacked up with four-wheel drive, and you can actually take the trails there to the Knik Glacier and do a nice picnic. And there's an earth cache and a geocache right there at Knik Glacier. So if you make it all the way to the end, you're rewarded with a beautiful view and another story.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Now, are four-wheelers available to rent? Could, if we wanted to go up there, could we rent one and do this trail?
Yeah, so there are companies that will do four-wheeler trails, four-wheeler tours, and you can rent them for the day or for a half day. And for the most part, you can either follow a plan that they have, or you can tell them, hey, I want to go on this type of adventure, and they'll guide you along. And more than anything, they're just excited to spend the day out playing. Well,
now that you're VP of Geocache Alaska, you need to get with these companies and make its own geo four-wheeler trail, right?
Like I said, a lot of people up here are really good about using the attribute. So if you do the quad attribute, there are several hundred caches that pop up, and we have two four-wheelers ourselves in our family. And sometimes whenever we're trying to decide where we want to go, I will run a pocket query for four-wheelers, ones that take four-wheelers that I haven't found yet. And I'll be like, hey, we should go here. Wouldn't this be a neat place to explore? Oh, we should stop for some water. And there's a geocache right over there. So we should get that while we're here.
Nice.
Just by coincidence.
By coincidence. I am one where I am very into geocaching. My husband is very supportive of me being into geocaching. And my 5-year-old really likes the ammo cans and anything bigger than that. He does not like micros. He does not like minis. Yep. He wants to find something of substance. And so they they go along with it. They have a lot better than I would expect.
Awesome.
Emily, before we leave, we've got one more question here. This comes from Kitty Quest that says, are there any particular notable geo art?
So we do have a few geo arts. One is we have a state star, and that is along the bike path. Once you solve it, it's along the bike path that goes from Bird Creek to Girdwood. And so it's really cool multi-use path, biking, walking. You'll see people out there on rollerblades and prepping for cross-country skiing and stuff like that. And so once you solve it, that's a great trail, and it connects Girdwood with the community of Bird. Highly recommend that trail. And then just north of Anchorage in a town called Houston, there is a dog sled and musher geo art that you can solve. And it looks really cool on the map. And that's another one that would be great to take your quad on, or a vehicle that has 4-wheel drive. And that's a really, really fun one to do. We did that for Mother's Day a few years ago. That was my Mother's Day gift, was getting to go out and snag those caches. And we spent a whole day doing that puzzle series, or that geo art series.
So much fun. Well, Emily, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
No, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really hope you guys get the chance to come up to Alaska. Mm-hmm. Please come do our Geo Trail. We are officially launching it at the end of May. So that way the snow will be mostly gone, and we'll start to have more daylight. But yeah, please come to Alaska. If you have any caching questions, reach out, because I am a little obsessive in how much I love caching in this state.
And congratulations on your new vice presidentship.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed. Hey, one more question? I see Brian's asked a question here that is also interesting to me, without maybe taking too much time. But how is the earth cache? Now, we talked about earth caches a few times, and you mentioned that you do enjoy them. Is there a fairly good density of earth caches around?
My personal opinion, I think there are a lot. We have a handful or more just in the city of Anchorage, because we had the 1964 earthquake that left a lot of geographic markers. There are several in Denali, and there's a lot on like roadsides and pullouts that just will make you stop and look at a mountain and start to analyze it more so than I think you normally would. So yeah, if you like earth caching, Alaska's a great place to come do it. Especially anywhere that the earthquake hit. It's really cool to see the history about it and how things have recovered. And I learned about trees that were flooded with salt water and didn't go down, and now they're petrified trees, and bears can climb them without destroying them.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
There you go. So cool stuff. So thank you for that. We also want to, so thank you, Emily, as Chris has said. We really appreciated learning more about Alaska, truly caching in the Northwest, that's for sure. You are welcome to come back anytime, particularly as you get closer to launching the Geo Trail. Maybe if there's some news and updates, reach out to Chris or myself or Jim and let us know, and we'd be glad to have you back again and talk some more.
Yeah, we got our final proof of the coin that we are offering for those who complete the Geo Trail. We got the final proof of that, so I will send it over to you guys.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, did we? So there is a reward for finding these.
Yes, if you find 20 of the 23 caches, you can purchase the coin. So similar how like Geocaching HQ's Geo Tour, you got to buy the coin. We have a coin for purchase, and if you complete all the caches, you get your coin plus a free back tag that is Alaska themed. And so, it's you can win a prize. You can buy a prize.
Yeah, there you go. Looking forward to seeing that coin design. Very cool. Thank you.
Very nice. And folks, thank you for listening.
Yes.
To this episode of Caching in the Northwest. We hope you enjoyed it.
We definitely hope you enjoyed it. And we also want to take a moment to thank Land Sharks and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. They're shipping those online orders daily. And for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures, check out exploregoldcountry.com, and there are 2 geo tours up there. All right, folks. Also, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Land Sharks, Gold Country Geo Tour, Team Scroll, Groovy Owl, and Cashly, the geocaching app. If you want to know more about supporting this show, click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website.
Just like GeoNav Pro did.
And you talks to rocks.
And Ella Robrick.
Wet Coaster.
Sprouter.
The newest patron, the Arnott Dot family.
Keats 94 in the chat with us this evening.
Donners.
J-Car.
Boomer 365.
Logwork.
Green Words.
Seebeck Tribe.
UDAC.
Gee, nice.
Niece. But he's nice. I've met him. MC3 Cats.
Limax.
You know, it's funny. I know it's genius, but for some reason the geological term
Yes.
took over in
Exactly.
my brain.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Where are we? Am I up again?
Yes.
Okay. Ackerdoc.
Emily, did you have a proper pronunciation of Ackerdoc?
He lives near me. He's
I know.
AKR Doc.
AK,
Oh,
I
really?
know. Yeah. He's an emergency room doctor.
AK.
He's a ER doc. He's an AK ER doc.
Yes.
So first of all, no one ever told me that. So now I know.
Okay.
But secondly, then why are all the letters run together?
It's geocaching.
No. There are dots and dashes.
You know, he's had that name for a while. He probably could have done spaces back in the day. You know what? Let's talk about Fairwood West instead.
How about Camp Clan?
And before I move on, thank you for your support of the podcast, AKER Doc.
That's right.
And I will try and remember that going forward, but I'm not making any promises because I'm in a habit of saying that. Well, you know, another thing I'm in a habit of saying is our favorite kitchen appliance is the LG 9000.
That's right. And our favorite countdown is the RE54321.
Beat Pendragon.
Skyhawker.
Terrible lunch, great cashier, gas station tuna.
Trexzer.
GSM ×2.
Kev MacD.
Team Noltex.
Kennelbarb.
Tick Magnet.
Just finding our way.
Korsgat.
Kitty Quest.
Flagman.
Kid Vegas 19.
Subway Mark.
CRS 98.
Antaeus.
Joining us from Nevada, it's Peach of Washington.
Doramore.
Sege Hove.
And M-Nerve.
All righty. Boy, that list seems to get longer all the time. We thank each and every one of them. And we'll learn
I
how to
certainly
say.
know how to drag the list out too.
Yeah, I was going to say, and we'll learn how to say them all correctly someday. Thanks, Emily, for jumping in there with that correction.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So we certainly don't want to mispronounce anybody's name. But thanks to all of them. And Emily, thank you. eaccipi. eaccipi, is that right?
Yes.
See, I can learn. I can be trained. For coming out. We're excited. I have dreamed all my life of going to Alaska. I hope I actually make it sometime. You threw it out there that you like to field questions. How can somebody get those questions to you if they want to reach out and get in touch?
So you can always message me on the geocaching app, eaccipi, or you can email me, eaccipi@geocachealaska.org. And I have a whole bunch of itineraries like prepped for people for if they're coming up for 3 days or 5 days or 7 days or a whole month. So I love sharing this state with people. And so please reach out if you'd like.
Well, thank you so much. Oh, we have a new travel agent in Alaska that knows geocaching. Hey, folks.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your support helps keep the quality shows coming. If you like the show, click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. Now, if you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about. And how could you not like this show today? In either case, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and so many more. Subscribe and give us a review. Now, these reviews are important. You know, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're on a podcast, leave us a fast, free, fabulous, No, a free, fabulous, fast, fantastic 5-star review. If I get the words out of order, I can't say it. It's only that one phrase that I got right there. You know what? You can also call 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or drive us around Alaska any time of the day or night. And of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and chat. This show is produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwitz, and Jay Kennedy. It's licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2022 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The after show.
Ooh, that was a lot of words I got out there.
You did very well, my friend.
Well, thank you. As long as they're in the right order. You put them in a different order and I don't know what to say.
I mean, you didn't do it in one breath or anything, but not bad.
I just don't know that can be done anymore.
I want to know if anybody made Baked Alaska. Hey, look at this.
Yes.
From Seebeck Tribe, the Kitsap Peninsula Great Escape at 11 a.m. in Seebeck. You know, Seebeck Tribe is in the town of Seebeck, Washington.
I had a hunch.
Yeah.
I know where that is now. I actually visited it last weekend.
Did you?
I did.
And there's a adventure lab launching that day. And they're going to go do a 5-5 cache after the event. I believe the cache is called Airmail.
Oh,
That is
okay.
GC8 Kilo 027.
That makes more sense. I saw Airmail 5/5 after the event. Like, okay, what's that? And then, okay, of course.
Airmail is very difficult to work with. It's a 5-5 type of product.
That's why there's a GC code there now. Got it. All right. You have to explain things for me, but once I've written it out in crayon, I've got it.
Okay. I want to see your notes.
Yes.
So that's where I'm going on Saturday.
Ballpoint
awesome.
pen on the palm of his hand.
That's right.
Don't wash.
I rarely
Kids-
do. It's okay.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, wait. I wasn't supposed to say that. That's another Land Monkey intro. Keats 94 says, sadly, there will be no new episode of Keats 94 Geocaching Adventures tomorrow. I took a minor break from filming to visit my dad. I'll be back at it next Friday.
Worthy
And-
excuse.
True Canadian fashion. He says sorry.
There you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's creating an episode every week of a YouTube vlog is a lot of work.
It is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, what else we got?
Well, let's see. CRS 98 was in Alaska, but before he started caching, so he has to go back.
Yes, I've been up to Alaska on an Alaskan cruise. It was wonderful. Got to see, we didn't get in and explore as much because, you're a day in each port, but still beautiful cities. We took the White Pass Rail, which was amazing. That was a super memorable adventure.
I want to do that so bad.
It's so awesome. Going up to Carcross in the Yukon, and just amazing.
And I think you should have one fine taken away from you, Land Monkey. You should not be able to earth cache from a hot tub.
Nah, yeah. Yes, that's another Alaskan story. We were on the cruise ship in Glacier Bay National Park and completed an earth cache on observing glaciers from the hot tub on the deck of the cruise ship. So,
Was it the one outside of Yakutat, the Hubbard Glacier one?
I'd have to take a look at my notes. It's been a while since we did that one, but it was intended to be observable from a boat on the water in the park. So
There's one like that outside of Yakutat. I think it's the Hubbard Glacier, and it's the only cache in that borough I have not found because I have not taken a cruise.
Oh, wow.
The name
Only
sounds
cache in the
familiar.
burrow.
There are only 5.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say, holy cow. Then, okay, that, yeah.
There are only 5 in that borough, but one of them you can only get to by boat.
GSM times 2 worked right through the notification. He missed the episode. So do you mind if we rewind and just do the whole thing over?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Works for me. It's time to bring in our tundra tamarind. Oh,
Some say.
Yeah.
I'll say the biggest thing you missed is that everyone's now coming on a trip to Alaska, and the four of us are going to go four-wheeling or quad riding together. So
Yes, please.
I'm in.
Yes. In June.
in June, it's my favorite month to be in Alaska. Pretty much any month except April and October, if I'm being honest.
CRS 98 wants to know: is it true that the mosquito is the official state bird?
It is not the official state bird, but it will carry you away.
It can carry away small barnyard animals, right?
They are massive. It's crazy how big they get. The actual state bird is the willow ptarmigan. And fun fact, the town of Chicken was originally going to be called Ptarmigan, but no one could agree how it was spelled.
That's funny.
Okay, that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to have a proper spelling before you have a town. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's just go with Chicken.
Chicken. We all know how to spell chicken. Oh, that's funny. Peach of Washington says Skyhawker and I cached in Southeast Alaska in August this year and enjoyed getting caches in Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway.
I'm so jealous. I've only cached in Juneau. I've done that airport series that's right around the airport. That's a really good one if you're there for a layover. But I really want to get Ketchikan. I really want to get Skagway. I am going to Sitka next June to go for the oldest one in the state, which is there.
Nice.
You're going to Sitka while we come to see you? Is that what you're going to run away?
I'm just going for the weekend. It's a direct flight.
Everything's a direct flight. I see the direct flights to Unacleat from Raven Airlines or whatever on the Discovery Channel.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Raven Airlines is really great if you're trying to get to some of the smaller communities. Alaska Airline is what I fly to the point where I hit MVP 75 last year. That means I get chocolate every time I fly. So it's worth the money. But yeah, some of the communities on Alaska with Raven Air and even Homer you can fly to on Raven Air if you don't want to do the drive. But the drive is beautiful. So
that's the extent of my Alaska experience is binge watching Discovery Channel.
I do now about them looking for gold looking for a treasure, a pirate treasure in, I want to say, Adak. I don't know if anybody in the comments has watched it, but we stumbled upon that one and watched a whole episode, and we were very into it.
Now, the two that were actually recently, the Flying Wild, I think it's called, it was Era Airlines back there with the Tweedo family. It's Raven now, I think. And the Alaskan Railroad, where, like you say, they whistle stop. All the homesteaders that live out in the middle of nowhere flag the train down to stop, and
And the Alaska Railroad, they've got you can take the train from Anchorage to Seward. You can take the train from Anchorage to Fairbanks. And a really, really cool one is on the way to Seward, you can stop at the Spencer Glacier. The only way to get to it is either to take the train or bike or ski out to it. And it's kind of a journey by bike. But I know people who will take the train or bike out and then pack raft from the glacier back to the town of Portage, which is just out of Whittier.
Wow.
And there's geocaches at Spencer Glacier. There's a mini power trail there. Yeah.
Nice.
Who'd have thought?
If it's on the glacier, do they have to constantly update the coordinates?
The caches are just on the trail beside the glacier. So they're pretty safe. There's a really nicely maintained trail there. And KMTA, actually, our Geo Trail sponsor, they do a 5K out there every year. And so and part of the 5K fee is your train ticket.
Oh, interesting. So you could do the 5K. You would be slow, but you also get the geocaches.
Oh, yeah. That's how I run all my races.
Okay.
I do all my hikes. Oh, we're going to keep going up that mountain. I'm going to need to see what caches there are along the trail if I'm going to keep going.
So, Emily, I looked it up while we were talking. The Earth cache that we were talking about doing from the cruise ship is the Johns Hopkins Glacier Earth cache.
Okay.
There you go.
That's further south then.
Yes, it is. I was having trouble finding it on the map because I didn't realize how much further south it actually was. There you go.
Because it's a lot farther on the map than it looks.
Well,
That's what I
also,
learned.
yeah, Alaska's big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alaska, yeah, it's really big. I'm playing on the geocaching website as well, and I was about to type in Juneau to see exactly how far it is as the crow flies. And I feel like I should know this by this point in my life, but I like to make up numbers, so I'm going to get the facts. It is 891 kilometers.
We don't do facts on this podcast.
So 890 kilometers.
That's like
Goodly
2
distance.
million miles.
I think 550 miles. I have my geocaching profile set in kilometers because it makes me feel a lot better about the distances that I've traveled. Look.
It's also a unit that just makes more sense because
It does make more sense. I love a base 10.
I do too. It's just not acceptable here in the U.S. quite yet.
Well, I was thrown off that you Canadians use the metric system for everything but height.
a person's height. Yeah. I mean, technically, legally, we do, but you ask any Canadian how tall they are, they're going to tell you in feet and inches.
There's a really great puzzle series up here that I didn't talk about during our time, but it's the Detective Toby series. So if you just search Alaska and Toby, it's cache owner, the Dogliest, and he just does these really creative puzzles where this detective, a dog named Toby, has all these puzzles that you solve and you help him. And one of them was a Canadian theme. And you had to go through and find out which of these were not Canadian. And that is what stumped me. It was like, the person said he was 5'4". And I was like, no, Canadians are metric. It's not the answer. And
pretty much everything else. Yeah.
It ended up being the answer. So anyone who's doing that Toby series, I've just given a very hint on one cache.
Oh,
that's why it's important to listen to the after show.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, IHAM contributes, and I've cached with him. His geocaching profile is also in metric because a meter is about one stride. Mm-hmm. So when you're on a trail and you see it's 112 meters away, well, yeah.
So start counting your strides, and you'll get there.
Well, I said I was just down in Washington State for the long weekend, enjoying a road trip and starting those new geo tours, and my Google that I'm using to navigate in the Jeep, it auto-magically flips itself over to Imperial, and it's telling me that there's a turnoff 1,000 feet ahead or a quarter mile ahead. I'm like, I don't know how far that is. I'll just watch for the signs, I guess.
Yeah.
1,000 feet. I could be like a bajillion feet for all I know.
It's 2 geocaches apart.
There you go.
All right.
Almost 2/10 of a mile.
So it's 162 meters times 2. All right, got it.
Yeah, there you go. See how easy it is to do in your head?
Yeah. You guys.
Oh, folks, thanks so much for joining us. And until next week, get out and get caching in the northest of north and the westest of west in Alaska, or, northwest.
Yeah.
Bye now.